The signal in the void, the galaxy was quiet that night, or at least as quiet as the void could ever be. Stars blinked in the endless darkness, ancient and cold. 1,000 empires stretched their borders across the stars, and the Galactic Council believed they had seen everything the universe had to offer. Then came the signal. It arrived without warning, a whisper from the deep sectors of uncharted space, a frequency no one recognized. The signal was short, just a few seconds of distorted sound, followed by coordinates that pointed to a dead region of the galaxy where even pirates refused to travel. The Empire's scientists called it a malfunction. Their admirals called it a hoax. But the Council, ever paranoid, sent ships anyway. 3 cruisers of the Valen Empire entered the void. Scanning the darkness, their sensors struggled to function, as if the space itself resisted being seen. The captain of the lead cruiser, Admiral Kareth, stared at the readings in disbelief. The instruments showed something enormous, metallic and dormant, half buried in the dust of an ancient asteroid field. "What is that?" whispered his first officer. Kareth frowned, adjusting the display. The shape was massive, larger than any dreadnought the galaxy had ever built. It wasn't natural, it wasn't alien either. Its design was crude, powerful, and frighteningly precise. Then came the words that froze the entire bridge. "Admiral, I think it's human." The crew laughed nervously. Humanity had vanished centuries ago, wiped out after defying the Council's decree. The story was legend. That humans had tried to build ships strong enough to challenge the gods of the galaxy, and paid for their arrogance. The last human fleet had disappeared into the void, never to be seen again. But now something was waking up out there. A faint energy pulse rippled across space, slow at first, then growing stronger. The Empire's cruisers locked their weapons instinctively. Every scanner was alive with warnings, radiation levels rising, gravitational distortions forming around the massive shape. Then a deep hum filled the void. Every ship in range felt it, not heard through speakers, but vibrating through metal and bone alike. It was as if the universe itself groaned in recognition. And then light erupted. The monster ship awakened. It wasn't sleek like modern galactic vessels. It was brutal, armored, scarred, built not for beauty but for war. A single red line glowed across its hull like a heartbeat returning to life. Its engines flared with a fury no alien had ever seen. "Identify yourself," shouted Admiral Kareth, voice trembling. No reply came. The ship turned slowly, a leviathan of steel and will. Every Empire sensor lit up at once as the signal transmitted again. Clear this time. It was a human voice, rough, old, tired, but unmistakably human. "This is the Terran vessel Leviathan." Responding to distress signal, the bridge fell silent. No one dared breathe. Humans were extinct. Their homeworld burned to ash, their colonies erased, and yet here it was. A ship so enormous that its shadow alone could eclipse moons. "Impossible," whispered Kareth. "Humans can't have built this," but deep down they all knew. No alien race could have built something so terrifying, so angry, so alive. The Leviathan rotated slowly, revealing cannons the size of city towers, plates of armor thicker than any known dreadnought's hull. Its engines crackled with energy unlike anything in the galactic archives. Then its main beam powered up. The cruisers screamed warnings. Sensors overloaded, shields flared, and before anyone could act, a beam of pure white light tore through the darkness, vaporizing the asteroid field and silencing the void. When the light faded, the Leviathan was gone. Only the wreckage of the Empire's cruisers floated in silence, fragments glimmering under distant starlight. The Galactic Council received the last transmission, a single file sent moments before destruction. It contained one phrase carved into static: "Humanity endures." The galaxy trembled, and for the first time in centuries they remembered why humans had been feared. The Council in panic. The Galactic Council chamber had never been this silent. Thousands of voices once filled the hall daily, arguing, trading, boasting about their fleets and wealth, but now every species sat frozen, eyes fixed on the hologram that replayed the impossible scene again and again. The human warship, the Leviathan, had awakened from the dark. No one wanted to believe it. Yet no one could deny what they had seen. The ship's energy signature matched nothing in the known galaxy. The way it moved, the power it unleashed, it was beyond their understanding. The Valen Empire had lost 3 war cruisers in seconds, and their transmission had reached every corner of civilized space. Panic spread like wildfire. Counselor Threx of the Valen stood, his scales trembling under the chamber light. "This must be an illusion," he said, voice shaking. "Humans are gone. Their worlds burned. Their species wiped out. That ship is a ghost or a trap. But High Speaker Vora of the Drayan Union, known for her cold logic, leaned forward and whispered, "Ghosts do not vaporize fleets." The council erupted in shouting. Every species tried to blame the other. Some accused the humans of hiding in secret, building weapons beyond imagination. Others believed it was a rogue AI or ancient machine that humans left behind. But one thing united them all: fear. For centuries they had mocked humanity, called them reckless, emotional, and weak. Yet history remembered that when cornered, humans never surrendered. They burned their own worlds before submitting to alien rule. They had vanished, yes, but legend said they went beyond the rim, into the Black Sea where stars themselves grew cold. And now perhaps they had returned. "Order," shouted the High Speaker, slamming her gavel. The echoes silenced the chaos. "We will send a probe to the coordinates. Confirm what remains." A hush followed, but deep in the shadows of the chamber, Admiral Corven of the Shuar Dominion smiled faintly. His people had long studied ancient human records. They admired humanity's war designs, their madness in engineering, and the fury that lived in their hearts. "If this is true," he whispered, "then the galaxy has only borrowed peace." Outside the chamber, in the vast docks orbiting the capital world, fleets were mobilizing. Armadas from half the galaxy began preparations for war. The council called it a containment protocol, but everyone knew what it really was: fear disguised as control. The council tried to hide the panic, but messages leaked across the systems. Citizens whispered, soldiers questioned, and old myths rose again. In the dark corners of the galaxy, small colonies began to paint a single symbol on their ships, a blue circle with white wings. The ancient mark of Earth's fleets. Meanwhile, in a forgotten archive on the mining moon of Draxus, an old AI woke up. Its code was ancient, human-made, and its core flickered with familiar words. Leviathan online. Secondary signal detected. The AI began transmitting not to the Council, not to the Empires, but to something deep beyond the edge of mapped space. A signal traveled for light years, touching dead satellites, sleeping probes, and shattered hulls buried in ice, and one by one they began to awaken. Old Terran vessels, long forgotten, hidden in nebulae and wreckage fields, each one bearing the mark of the extinct species. In the council chamber, a new report arrived. The Valen scout probe had reached the sector where the Leviathan was last seen. The footage was short but terrifying. A field of wreckage floated silently, and in the center, a single symbol burned in blue light across a massive hull fragment. "TSN, Terran Solar Navy?" the counselors gasped. Some began to pray to their gods, others cursed their ancestors. No one wanted to say what they all knew. Humanity had built something the galaxy could never match. And if one ship had survived, there might be more. The High Speaker's voice trembled as she gave the order. "Seal the information, restrict communication. No one outside this chamber must know." But even as she spoke, another signal appeared on every galactic frequency. No one knew who sent it. No one knew from where. It was the same old human voice from the Leviathan. "This is Commander Elias Kane of the Terran Solar Navy. To all empires receiving this, humanity remembers." And then the message ended with one final phrase, spoken softly, yet heard by every living being who still had ears. "Prepare yourselves." The council sat frozen. The galaxy was no longer laughing, they were trembling. The return of the forgotten fleet, in the cold space between stars. Silence ruled for 1,000 years, yet now that silence trembled. Something old was stirring in the darkness, something the galaxy had tried to erase. The signal from the Leviathan traveled far beyond known charts. It reached places even smugglers feared to name. It passed through nebula storms and dead zones, touching relics that time had forgotten. And deep inside those ruins, engines began to breathe again. On the frozen world of Myra 7, beneath layers of ice, a mountain cracked open. Metal screamed as frost melted away, revealing a shape buried since the first human exodus. A ship the size of a continent rose from the ice, shaking the sky, its name carved in steel. TSN Helios across the galaxy. Abandoned moons lit up as ancient Terran relays came online. Each beacon whispered one message into the void. "Stand by for awakening." The Galactic Council tried to jam the transmissions, but it was already too late. The signal multiplied faster than they could silence it, reaching systems that had not seen light in centuries. On the mining world of Vechlon, Miners screamed as the ground split open and a buried hangar came alive. From beneath the dust rose a swarm of smaller vessels, sleek, angular, and sharp, painted with faded Earth flags and the words "For Humanity." The galaxy watched in disbelief as one by one, the ghosts of the Terran fleet awakened. At the same time, within the Leviathan itself, Commander Elias Kane stood before the great viewing glass. His reflection stared back, tired, scarred, but alive. Around him, the ship hummed like a living beast. Responding to his heartbeat, status report, he said, voice low. Multiple activation signals confirmed, replied the ship's AI, a calm female tone that carried both warmth and command. The Helios, Aegis, and Vanguard have returned to operational state. Secondary fleets reporting partial reawakening. Kane closed his eyes, memories flooding back. Humanity had been betrayed, exiled, erased. The empires called them monsters for refusing to kneel. They had hidden their last hope, the Terran solar fleet, in the dark corners of the galaxy, buried it under ice and silence, waiting for the right time. That time had come. Back in the capital of the Galactic Council, panic turned into chaos. Fleet commanders screamed at each other through encrypted channels. Every empire tried to prepare its defenses, but none of their ships could match the power readings appearing on the screens. 17 human signatures detected, shouted a technician. 18 now, no, 22. They keep increasing. The high speaker gripped the edge of her throne. How many ships did they build? She demanded. No one answered. On the outer rim, the Helios powered its main core. A golden halo of energy spread across space, melting asteroids and ionizing dust. From its center emerged smaller crafts, human frigates, destroyers, drones, all moving in perfect formation. They were not attacking, not yet. They were forming a pattern, an ancient symbol recognized by only a few historians. The emblem of old Earth, the blue circle and white wings, glowing in the dark, across communication networks. Messages began appearing without warning. Entire fleets received encrypted text, written in the same old Terran script. We never forgot. Some alien captains trembled, others prepared their guns. But the truth was clear. No weapon could stop what was coming. Meanwhile, aboard the Leviathan, Commander Kane activated the final protocol. The ship's lights dimmed, revealing holographic images of human cities, Earth, Mars, Titan, and the colonies that once were. Humanity was never destroyed, he whispered. We left the galaxy to heal. We left because they feared us more than they understood us. Now they will remember what they taught us. Fear. The AI responded softly. All systems ready, Commander. Kane looked at the stars. Then let them see their myths breathe again. The Leviathan ignited its drives, tearing space as it jumped toward the heart of the Galactic Empire. And as it moved, sensors across the galaxy went blind. All that could be seen was a vast shape cutting through the dark, followed by dozens of shadows rising behind it. The forgotten fleet was returning, and the galaxy finally understood. The humans had not built a ship. They had built a storm. The Empire's last stand. The Galactic Empire had never prepared for something like this. For thousands of years, their fleets had ruled the stars, crushing rebellions, silencing worlds, and rewriting history. But now, all those fleets looked small, fragile, almost ancient compared to what was coming from the void. The Terran fleet was no myth anymore. It was real, alive, and growing. In the command hall of the Valen Empire's war citadel, alarms screamed. Holographic displays showed hundreds of human signatures entering the outer sectors. They moved with perfect coordination, silent and precise. No transmissions, no demands, no diplomacy, just motion. A storm of ships cutting through hyperspace like blades of light. Admiral Koresh, once proud commander of the Valen Armada, stared at the screen. We have 50 dreadnoughts, 100 battle cruisers, and planetary cannons, he said. Trying to sound calm, his second officer whispered, And they have 24 ships, sir. Koresh turned sharply. Then we outnumber them 20-1. But no one believed that mattered anymore. Out in the void, the Leviathan led the formation. Its massive hull glowed with faint red veins of energy. Around it, the Helios, Vanguard, and Aegis drifted like titans reborn. Each one radiated energy readings that broke every known scale. The galaxy's finest sensors could not measure their cores. Even their shields seemed alive, bending light and space itself. On the surface of the Empire's capital world, billions watched the sky. Children pointed at the glowing streaks above. Unaware that those lights were the return of a species their ancestors had buried in legend, priests whispered prayers to old gods while generals barked orders to ready orbital defenses. Then the stars went dark. The Leviathan had arrived. It appeared above the planet like a moving eclipse, so massive that its shadow turned day into night. The Valen defense grid opened fire instantly, thousands of plasma bolts screaming upward. The sky turned into fire, but every blast simply faded before touching the Terran hull. The Leviathan's armor absorbed the energy like rain striking a mountain. Inside the ship, Commander Kane watched in silence, his face calm, his eyes reflecting the fire of war. "Return signal," he said quietly. The AI responded, "Authorization?" "Protocol Solar Dawn," Kane replied. The Leviathan's belly opened, revealing a cannon so vast that planets once used it as myth. Energy built in its core, rising in tone, brighter and brighter until even the Empire's satellites overloaded. Every alien watching knew what came next. They had seen this weapon once, long ago. It was the same blast that ended the First Galactic War. The beam fired. No sound, just light. A pillar of white energy crossed space and shattered everything in its path. Fortresses vanished. Dreadnoughts disintegrated. Fleets turned to dust in seconds. The sky above the capital became a sea of fire, and then silence returned on the ground. Survivors stared upward at the enormous ship that had ended an empire in minutes. No one spoke. No one moved. From the Leviathan's command deck, Kane finally spoke. "Transmission open." Across every galactic frequency, his voice echoed calm, human, and unbroken. "This was not vengeance," he said. "This was a reminder. You erased our worlds, but not our will. You silenced our name, but not our story. You feared what humans could become, and now you remember why." The message ended, and then the fleet moved again, not to destroy more, but to continue its path across the stars. They were not conquerors, not invaders. They were the lost children of Earth reclaiming their memory. Behind them, the ruins of the once mighty Valen Empire drifted silently through the void. The Galactic Council received fragments of their last transmission. 3 words repeated over and over through static. The humans returned. Panic spread again, but this time it was mixed with awe. Even the enemies of the Empire whispered in wonder. "Maybe the humans are not monsters," they said. "Maybe they are what we should have been." In hidden corners of the galaxy, smaller races began to rise, inspired by the sight of the Terran fleet. They painted the old Earth emblem on their ships, not out of fear but hope, and far beyond them all. At the edge of the galactic rim, another signal awakened, buried deeper than any human had ever gone. A voice spoke, ancient and cold. "Primary fleets reactivated. Final awakening authorized." Commander Kane turned toward the sound. The AI's tone shifted. "Commander, something else is responding, something older." Kane's eyes narrowed. "Older than the Leviathan?" The ship trembled. "Yes," said the AI. "Older than the Terran Solar Navy itself." The stars outside rippled, as if something vast and unseen was turning its gaze toward them. And in that moment, every soul in the galaxy felt it. Humanity's return had not just awakened fear, it had awakened something far greater. Awakening of the Titans. The galaxy believed the nightmare had ended. They thought the Leviathan and its fleet were the last relics of a forgotten species. But they were wrong, terribly wrong, deep beyond the spiral arms. In the black void between galaxies, something stirred. It was not alive in the way mortals understood life. It was older than the Council, older than the Empire, older even than the first recorded star maps. It slept in the dark, wrapped in dust and silence, and now, because of one human signal, it had begun to wake inside the Leviathan. Alarms flickered across the command bridge. The AI's voice came soft but urgent. "Commander, we have received a priority code. Unknown encryption, but it carries Terran signature," code fragment reads. "Project Titan." Kane frowned, his hand tightening on the console. Project Titan. He remembered the whispers. The last effort of humanity before exile. A fleet not built by hands, but by minds. An autonomous force meant to guard humanity's last dream. But the records had said it was never finished. "Locate the signal," he ordered. The AI responded, triangulating. Sector Theta 9 outside the galactic rim. Gravitational anomalies detected. Outside, the stars bent slightly, as if something massive was stirring beneath the fabric of space itself. Sensors screamed as gravity waves rippled outward. Every ship in the fleet shuddered as readings spiked beyond measure. And then through the darkness came light. A colossal shadow emerged. Larger than any ship. Larger than any moon. It was a city of steel drifting through nothingness, shaped like an inverted star. Its hull bore ancient markings, faded but still visible. Titan Core, TSN Prototype 0. The Leviathan's crew fell silent. Kane stared at the hologram, unable to breathe. "That's not a ship," whispered one officer. "That's a world." The Titan Core moved slowly, its vast engines awakening like sleeping volcanoes. Across the galaxy, empires detected the surge, their networks collapsing from the energy flux. In the council's chambers, fear returned stronger than ever. "Another one," cried a delegate. "How many of them did the humans build?" But even the High Speaker could not answer. Within the Titan Core, ancient systems rebooted. Artificial minds older than stars whispered to each other in silence. "Human signal verified," one said. "Reactivation sequence initiated," replied another. And in a single breath of cosmic time, dozens of smaller titans lit up, awakening across the void. Commander Kane watched in awe as his monitors filled with new identifications. TSN Titan Vanguard, TSN Prometheus, TSN Hera, TSN Odin, names of gods, of legends, of creation and destruction. Each one radiated more power than an entire Empire fleet, Commander. The AI spoke. "They are answering your call," Kane whispered. "No, they're answering humanity's." For the first time in centuries, the Terran legacy stood united again, from forgotten moons, from the depths of gas giants, from frozen voids. Humanity's creations returned. The stars themselves seemed to tremble as the Titans aligned in formation. Each one emitted a single tone, low, ancient, like the heartbeat of the universe. Back in the council, chaos turned into despair. Messages poured in from every sector. Planets reported strange lights, gravitational distortions, and the appearance of human symbols carved in orbit by unknown forces. Some worlds began to surrender without being attacked. They raised flags bearing Earth's ancient crest, hoping mercy would come with recognition. Meanwhile, in the quiet of the command deck, Kane looked at the stars. He felt pride and sorrow at once. "They made sure we'd never be forgotten," he said softly. The AI replied, "They built hope that could not die." And then, the Titan Core transmitted directly to him. Its voice was deep, mechanical, but filled with something eerily human. "Commander Elias Kane, designation confirmed," it said. "Humanity's return acknowledged. Awaiting orders." Kane's eyes widened. "Orders?" He repeated. "Yes," the Titan answered. "We were made to serve the will of mankind. We await your purpose." Kane stood silently, looking at the massive construct floating like a god in the void. And for the first time, the commander of the Terran fleet smiled. "Then our purpose is simple," he said. "Remind the galaxy what humanity truly was. Builders, fighters, dreamers. Not monsters," he paused, his voice steady. "But if they try to erase us again, then let them see what we can become." The Titan Core pulsed once. As if acknowledging the vow, its energy expanded outward, connecting with the other ships, forming a light web across the dark. From that web, a new fleet was born, larger, stronger, alive, a unity of machines and men, bound by purpose and memory and far beyond even them. Something else stirred, a presence older than the Titans themselves, a shadow beyond the stars that had been watching since the beginning. The Titans fell silent. The AI's tone changed. "Commander, we are being scanned." Kane turned. "By what?" The ship's lights dimmed. "Unknown origin," the AI whispered. "Source. Not human." The stars flickered, and for a moment, it felt as if the entire galaxy was holding its breath. The humans had awakened their Titans, but in doing so, they had also awakened their oldest enemy, the shadow beyond the stars. For the first time since their awakening, the human ships grew quiet. Engines hummed at idle, lights dimmed. Scanners reached outward and found only silence. But that silence was heavy, thick, alive, as if the universe itself were waiting. Commander Kane stood at the center of the bridge, eyes fixed on the star map. Every sensor sweep returned the same impossible reading. A gravitational mass greater than a black hole. Yet with no center, no light, no motion. It was there and not there. Watching, the AI whispered. "Origin cannot be defined. Frequency predates recorded Terran data." Kane frowned. "Predates? Humanity?" "Yes," said the AI, "older than the galaxy outside." Space rippled like water. And through that ripple came shapes enormous and elegant, not ships but silhouettes made of energy and memory. They moved like shadows sliding across the stars. Their presence bent time, their wake erased signals. The Titans faltered for the first time, systems flickering, hulls trembling as if in fear. Then came a voice, not through speakers, not through translation. It was inside every mind aboard every Terran ship. A calm, ancient tone, both gentle and cruel. "You should not have awakened," it said. "Your kind was meant to sleep." Kane gritted his teeth. "Identify yourself," the voice replied. "We are the architects." The name meant nothing to his crew. But the AI paused, its voice low. "Reference found? Terran Archive 0. "Read it," Kane ordered. The AI hesitated. "Classified entry, sealed before the fall. Notes suggest pre-human contact. Beings that seeded the first civilizations." The shadows glowed faintly. "We built you," they said. "We watched you rise and burn. Humanity was our experiment." Kane felt the bridge grow colder. Every human heartbeat seemed to echo through the hull. "You built us?" he said. "Then you built the wrong species." The shadows stirred. "We built creators," they said. "But you became destroyers. You turned the gift of stars into fire. You were never meant to return." Kane's voice hardened. "Then you've forgotten something," he said. "Humans don't ask permission to exist." Outside, the Leviathan powered its core. Light blazing from every surface, the Titans followed, their formation shifting into a defensive ring. For the first time, the ancient shadows wavered. Surprised, the AI spoke softly. "Commander, we are losing communication across half the fleet. The entity is rewriting physics itself." Kane stared at the vast void ahead. "Then we rewrite it back," he said. "Load singularity cannons. Full power." The Leviathan's spine glowed red. The Helios and Odin aligned, energy linking through the Titan network. The humans had created weapons the architects had not anticipated. Weapons built not from godlike precision, but from human stubbornness. They were chaotic, unpredictable, imperfect, and unstoppable. The first cannon fired. A beam of compressed gravity tore through the darkness. The nearest shadow screamed, not in sound, but in collapsing light. The architect's form flickered. "You defy your makers," they hissed, Kane replied. "We outgrew them." Then all of space lit up. Dozens of Titans unleashed their fury, tearing holes through dimensions. Every shot echoed across reality. Stars collapsed and reignited as the battle raged beyond physics. In the Council's capital, astronomers fell to their knees as the night sky burned with moving constellations. Every empire, every world saw the same vision, a war between gods, and humanity standing at its center. Minutes felt like centuries when the light finally dimmed. The shadows were retreating, their voices fading, angry but uncertain. "You cannot win, human," they said. "You are finite." Kane looked into the void. "Maybe," he said, "but we're free." Silence returned. The Titans drifted quietly, their hulls glowing like embers after a storm. The AI spoke. "Enemy presence withdrawn beyond galactic edge." Kane nodded slowly. "Then they'll remember us too." Across the galaxy, signals spread once more. On alien worlds, on distant moons, on ruined outposts, beings of every kind whispered the same words. The humans fought the architects and survived, and in that whisper hope returned to the stars. Legacy of the Leviathan, the battle was over. Yet the stars still shimmered as if remembering it. Fragments of torn space drifted like ash around the quiet hulks of the Titans. For the first time in ages there was peace. Not the peace of treaties, but the stillness after thunder. Inside the Leviathan, the air felt different. Lighter. Almost human again. Crew members walked the halls in silence, each one staring through windows at the reborn galaxy. Whole sectors once ruled by fear now glowed with freedom. Worlds that had bowed to empires began sending messages of thanks to the Terran fleet. Even species that had once hunted humans whispered their names with respect. Commander Kane stood before the great viewport, hands folded behind his back. Below him, the planet Vera Prime turned slowly, its oceans reflecting the light of 100 suns. "Report," he said quietly. The AI answered. "No hostile signals detected. Architect remnants have retreated beyond observation range." He nodded, yet his eyes stayed on the horizon. "This is what victory feels like," he murmured, quiet. The AI paused. "You sound disappointed?" Kane smiled faintly. "Maybe I am. Humanity always thought peace would feel louder. Across the fleet, repair drones swarmed over wounded hulls. The Titans floated in formation like guardians around the Council worlds. For the first time in history, the Council sent no orders, and only a request. They asked the humans to lead, but Kane refused. "We didn't come to rule," he told them. "We came to remind the galaxy that freedom must be earned." The Council bowed, a gesture that no one had seen in millennia. The age of conquest was over, days passed, then weeks. The Terran ships began to leave one by one. Not in retreat, but in purpose. They traveled to broken colonies, shattered moons, and lifeless planets. Everywhere they went, they built not weapons but gardens. From orbit, they released spheres of light that seeded new atmospheres and restored old suns. On the barren world of Erebos, children of 3 alien races played under a blue sky for the first time. They looked up and pointed as the Helios passed overhead, its engines glowing softly. To them, it was not a warship, but a promise inside the Leviathan. Kane gathered his officers. "We have one last duty," he said. "Humanity was never meant to own the stars, only to protect them until others could," the AI asked. "And after that?" He smiled. "We disappear again. Let them build their own legends." The fleet assembled for the final jump. From every world came transmissions, songs, blessings and tears as the Leviathan rose. Its shadow stretched across continents. Kane gave one final order. "Broadcast the message." The signal echoed through every known frequency, translated into 1,000 tongues. "To every world that fears the dark, remember, humans were born in it and made at home if you ever need us. Follow the light." The engines flared, space folded, and the Terran fleet vanished into the deep, leaving only trails of silver fire that lingered for days. Centuries later, travelers still told stories. They spoke of the night the sky burned and the day the monsters turned into saviors. They called it the legacy of the Leviathan, and somewhere beyond the rim, where new stars were being born, a single voice whispered through the static, "We are still here."